Back on Sports Pit, Betting Insight today. Follow us on Twitter at Paulie Howard at Teddy_covers. Here we go. The late game, 3:30 Pacific on CBS. AFC Championship game. Pittsburgh and New England. Pats 651 the total. Rain possible. 9 in a row for the Steelers. They're on a great run. You're going against a team that's 14-2 though, and tough to beat at home. Brady-Ben playoff rematch for the first time in 12 years. I'll ask you though, Teddy. Are the Patriots fresh or rusty?
Well, they certainly looked rusty last week. At the back end of the season, they had walkovers against the Jets and then a walkover against the Dolphins in the last 2 games. They had a bye week, and then of the 8 playoff teams remaining, heading into last week, the Texans were clearly the weakest. I'm not convinced they were truly a tough competition. So you wonder if they're rusty. They looked rusty last week, and they're certainly not in a position where Pittsburgh, the Steelers, didn't have the bye week, although they took a bye week essentially in week 17, which I think has helped over the last couple of weeks. But the Patriots are fresher, but obviously last week they certainly weren't in midseason form.
Yeah, it's a good defense, and they allowed the fewest points of any in the National Football League. But you look at the quarterbacks they faced, you throw this up, Fitzpatrick twice, Osweiler twice, Taylor, Palmer, Tannehill, Kessler, and Whitehurst when they played the Browns, Dalton, Landry Jones, Russell Wilson, Kaepernick, Goff, Flacco, Simeon, and Matt Moore. Rufus Peabody. You think Patriots and you think Brady in the offense, but this season their defense has been almost as important. I think Patricia has done an excellent job turning things around. Remember, they lost at home to Seattle. They were rushing 2 guys on some of those plays.
Well, that's just it, okay? And again, I don't mean to bring up Rufus Peabody and rip him. I like the guy. I met him last year at the Super Contest seminar over at the Westgate. A real good guy. But I put him in the show specifically to talk about the example. Rufus Peabody and his Massey Peabody line is classic wise guy stuff, classic advanced metrics. And you're going to see the advanced metrics folks come out and say, look at this Patriots defense, the best defense in the NFL. And that's what Peabody's numbers will say. And look, down the stretch, after week 12, they held opponents to 4.7 yards per play, and they were great. Look at the quarterbacks they faced. Let's flash that list again. All right. And I know you say, well, Carson Palmer's pretty good. This wasn't a good year for Carson Palmer. Tannehill was okay. Well, the 2 games that they faced Ryan Tannehill, they faced week 2 when the Dolphins weren't ready yet. They faced in week 17 when Miami was as flat as a pancake.
That was Matt Moore.
Thank you. Very good. Even better. They faced Dalton. You know, it wasn't a good year for Dalton this year. They faced Flacco. Flacco moved the ball up and down the field against them. They faced Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson moved the ball up and down the field against them. You know, and they didn't face a quarterback who was ranked in the top 10 all season long. Roethlisberger, number 11 in passer rating, makes him the single highest rated QB the Pats will have faced all season. So in other words, I'm not convinced that New England's defense is as good as the markets seem to think it is, and as the advanced metric numbers seem to think it is. The Seahawks game threw me for a loop, and it stood out to me when they faced an offense that was struggling but had talent. New England couldn't get stops the way they had against some other teams.
But this is a great spot. I get Belichick off a bad performance in a playoff win. He's going to give them holy hell all week and let them know how bad they were.
Sure. Oh, no argument. And certainly, you know, Mike Tomlin has never figured out a defense for Tom Brady. Look at the numbers. The Patriots with Brady behind center, 9-2 against the Steelers. And Brady's numbers, how about this? 26 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Brady versus the Steelers in the Tomlin era, they played 6 times. He's averaged 315 yards per game, 8.8 yards per pass attempt. How about this? 19 touchdowns, 0 picks, a QB rating of 127.5. Tom Brady has owned this defense since Mike Tomlin got there.
Yes, and I really like Mike Lombardi from Fox Sports. I think he does some good work in his history there with the Patriots. He talks about the Steelers with their zone defense, where it's watch the quarterback, where he goes, you go, and that's where you move. Well, you're not playing Alex Smith on Sunday. You're not facing a Joe Flacco. You're going against the best in the business, one of the best, and a guy's torched you. I think Malcolm Mitchell's supposed to be back. Floyd had some issues in the loss to Houston. You're also supposed to get Hogan back as well. Maybe you split Lewis and White out. Spread them out and throw. And I think that's going to give the Steelers some problems in this one.
Well, for Pittsburgh, in my mind, the whole game comes down. There's a couple of things it's going to come down to, but for Pittsburgh defensively, they have to get pressure on Tom Brady. And you look at the full season numbers for the Steelers defense, a lot of mediocre stuff. Since James Harrison went back into the starting lineup, it's been a different looking defense. And Bud Dupree has been a difference maker when it comes to rushing the passer. The Harrison and Dupree have come on really strong down the stretch. And that's a key matchup, in my opinion. Because remember, this defense was good enough to carry the team to victory on the road last week in a game where the offense didn't produce a single touchdown. So even though we have some questions about Pittsburgh's season-long defensive numbers, and even though Tom Brady isn't Alex Smith, they won a game on the road and the offense didn't score a touchdown. Defense is doing something right. They will need to continue doing something right to beat Tom Brady in New England.
Now, we got to talk about the running back matchup, and I know he was probably undrafted in most leagues. The season that Blunt had, 1,100 yards, 16 touchdowns. Didn't get a lot of carries last week against the Texans. Didn't do much as he was battling the flu all week. And sometimes they give Lewis some carries as well. But he'll be key in this one, ground and pound. And then Belichick, what he does best, he takes away what you do best. Can they contain Le'Veon Bell?
Well, that's the big question. I mean, Le'Veon Bell is the NFL's best running back right now. He's built for January football. He was the difference maker in the game last week. If Pittsburgh's going to win the game, Bell is going to have to probably be the focal point of that offense. But you talk about Blunt. I mean, remember, these two teams faced off already once this season. Admittedly, it was a Landry Jones game, but 27-16 Patriots won on the road, and Blunt, 24 carries, 127 yards in that ball game. He was a difference maker for the Patriots. And if New England's going to win and cover this game, it's going to be Blunt who's running out the clock in the fourth quarter.
Another great matchup, key matchup. Is it going to be Butler against Brown? Will they do single coverage? Will they maybe double him? Can they contain Antonio Brown? And let's be honest, he said it himself. He has become a distraction because of the Facebook Live video. Steelers had to answer about it all week. We'll see if he comes out and delivers, or if he's like Beckham, where Beckham's on the boat. Next thing you know, he can't catch a cold in the loss at Lambeau.
Yeah, and really, when we're talking about one-on-one matchups, the biggest one-on-one has got to be Antonio Brown versus Malcolm Butler. I mean, Brown has been virtually unstoppable this season. Butler, top-notch cover corner, won a Super Bowl for New England based on his playing abilities. So you wonder, and this is not a question that I have the answer to, can Butler hold his own well enough so the Pats can play honest defense and not have to double team? Mm-hmm. Or is it a situation where New England's going to have to change their defensive game plan to contain Antonio Brown? That'll open things up for everybody else.
Maybe it comes down to this, Teddy. Who punches it in the red zone? Who has to settle for field goals?
Yeah, that's huge. I honestly think that'll be the difference ATS in this game. The Patriots scored touchdowns 64% of the time. They were number 8 in the NFL in red zone offense. The Steelers, they go hot and cold. They finished the season at 55%, but last week, 0 for the red zone. Both teams are in the top 8 on defense at holding teams out of the end zone when they get their scoring chances. The team that converts touchdowns and not field goals with those opportunities likely to cover the number in the late game on Sunday.
What do you think? Let's get a lean. Total side, what do you think?
Sidewise, I don't believe in New England. I don't believe in New England. I look at the strength of schedule that says they face the 32nd toughest, the weakest schedule in the NFL, and I say Pittsburgh might be able to give them a game.
They've also struggled ATS in this spot in the last few years too. Patriots, yeah.
Well, let's not forget the Patriots were the single best point spread team in the NFL this year. And when the books get beat by the same team over and over and over and over again, especially when it's a public team like New England, at this stage of the season, you end up laying a little bit more than you should. And that's another little edge on or towards the Pittsburgh side.
Yep, lean to the under in this one. Check the weather before the game on Sunday. Up next, how about the association? Here's revenge again for the Warriors. They're in Houston to take on the Rockets. We also have the Spurs and the Cavs. And the play of the day. Let's make it 4-1, baby, this week on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com. Hey, guys, for the full video, go to SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.